Okay, so my name's Chris Price. I spend my days, or as much as possible of my days, writing JavaScript at Scott Logic. And today I'd like to tell you guys a story. Are you guys sitting comfortably? I am. All right, I'll begin. Once upon a time, there was a clever young man named Tim. One day, he sat down at his computer and he created the World Wide Web. And although it started out small, in no time at all, the web's range of topics was too bewildering to call. It covered the entire breadth of human knowledge, a scale never before seen. The people were impressed, but they demanded more. Make it interactive, they'd start. Make it faster, they'd cry. More audio, more video. The demands just wouldn't stop. Round that corner, drop that shadow. It was all just too much. The poor browser of the day was sidelined. The plugin saw its chance. The Java applets arrived first, soon followed by Flash, Flex not long after, and Silverlight dead last. The people were happy. Their needs were fulfilled. The plugin was great. The browser was nilled. The plugin offered experiences so much richer than before. It had the features the people wanted, and rapid innovation brought more. Not only were their people happy, but the developers too. A consistent runtime, and none of that JavaScript. By comparison, the browsers went into hibernation. But it hadn't given up. Quietly and diligently, the browser got to work. It became faster, it embraced standards, and slowly, it engulfed the best the plugins had to offer. Time passed, and before long, the browser offered comparable features and performance. However, the people weren't impressed. They'd seen this all before. Slowly, though, the people began to notice things that they hadn't before. Nothing to install, nothing to update, instant loading. The people quickly embraced this new technology, and sooner than anyone had anticipated, the plugin was gone. So, I'd like to tell you another story. But enough of the rhyme, or awful rhyme. So once upon a time, there was an app store. Well, first of all, once upon a time, there was the mobile web. And this was 10 years ago. Steve Jobs got up on stage, and he demoed with better Wi-Fi than here, the... Yeah, I'm going to get kicked off. He got up on stage and he demoed Safari on the iPhone, and people thought that was great. The mobile web was here to stay. It was amazing. But this was 10 years ago. Remember? 10 years ago, connectivity was shit. You went on the tube, you got nothing. You wanted features in the browser, features that you should have been able to have in the browser that the phone had. You're out of luck. You want performance? This was the decade of IE6. No way. So, in that context, along came native mobile apps. Native mobile apps were great. They unlocked the performance of the platform. They worked offline. You could play it on the tube. You could play poker on the tube. They gave you so much more than the web could offer at that point in time. This was the era, truly, of the Apple Store. The Apple Store was amazing. It was a directory of really, really excellent apps that made use of all of the platform's features in the most natural way possible. And it works so well because there are only a few hundred apps. And no one really cared that Apple took 40% of that. Everyone was making money. It was a whole new revenue stream. And then PhoneGap came along, and PhoneGap was a bit of a kludge to kind of shoehorn websites into apps. And I want to be clear that for the rest of this talk, I'm not talking about PhoneGap. I'm not talking about wrapped apps. I'm talking about browsers. So that was, well, 5, 10 years ago. What's the browser been up to since then? So these are kind of the 4 areas I was trying to call out before. So offline support. Well, that's almost now being cracked with something called Service Worker. So Service Worker, if you haven't heard of it, is a local proxy that you control. It's a proxy that you interact with JavaScript that has a programmatic API. It allows you to completely control the offline and partial connectivity behavior of your app. Not only that, it allows push notifications. Your app's closed, doesn't matter. The user still gets the push notification to your app, even though it's just a single-page application. And in the future, it's a platform that more will be built on. So geofencing, periodic sync. Offline's cracked. What about performance? Well, I could show you a million charts about performance, and you'd be bored and I'd be bored, but let's laugh at someone else on stage suffering. So this is Steve Jobs, hopefully, showing off how good Safari was. So this is him. This is the launch of the iPhone. This is the pinnacle. He's got the best Wi-Fi connection, the fastest possible way. This is the best demo of launching like a newspaper homepage. It takes him a full minute for it to load. I remember seeing this and thinking this was excellent. I went straight out and bought an iPod Touch. This is what I wanted. This was the future. But that was 10 years ago. Like, performance has come on such a long way. This is a video from Google I/O 2016 where Jake Archibald demos an application. And you probably missed that, so let's try and run it again. This app, despite it looking like an app, as far as a user's concerned, I think they would treat that as a native app. There's just no difference between it. And that is just running in the browser. There's no PhoneGap, no nothing. So moving on to features. Remy Sharp recently did a rundown of what would it be possible to recreate Instagram as a single-page application. He ran through all of the different features in Instagram, and he basically came down to 3 that weren't possible. There was manually focusing the camera lens. It's quite a low-level thing to want to do. Maybe that is going to be the preserve of native apps. There was video transcoding. Video transcoding is like the most performance-intensive thing you could probably want to do on a phone. It's just not really possible with the browser APIs at the minute. But the final thing was in what's called the inbound share intent, and that's where something wants to share a photo with Instagram. As of last week, that was not possible. As of this week, it's possible. That's kind of how quickly this stuff is changing. And off the back of that, I think it's, there is no way this video is going to work. Off the back of that, there's a lot of features in there that you probably didn't realize were there as well. So here's one such feature. Ooh, oh no, it's not. Good browsers will always lag native. Good standards take time. But the mobile phone feature set is relatively mature, and all it's really seen is small incremental improvements. So it's probably good enough, and features stuff you probably haven't seen before. So here we go. So this is an example of a single-page web app, and it's intentionally quite Web 1.0, and you can do Apple Pay on it. Like, you can capture people's credit card details and email addresses just fine. So if the features are there that are good enough, what about kind of discoverability? I said the App Store was great. Getting in the App Store was such a thing. That was like 3-5 years ago. Nowadays, it's just not great. So the web's kind of cracked this. The app stores aren't great anymore. The web's cracked this with keyword search, and it's cracked it with URL sharing. They're 2 ways that people are just completely used to interacting. So the web has it cracked, and apps really don't. So if the browser has offline support, it's got features, it's got performance, it's it's got the discoverability baked into it. Is the browser good enough? Well, I want to share with you my prediction. Slowly, the people noticed things that they hadn't before. Nothing to install, nothing to update, instant loading. The people quickly embraced this new technology, and sooner than anyone had anticipated, the App Store was gone.